You're watching News at Prime. Let's get into this conversation now. Lobbying within the ANC is said to be intensifying ahead of next month's National General Council, and that's where potential contenders for the 2027 leadership race are expected to begin testing their support. Africa Report journalist and columnist Carien Du Plessis says the former party leader Thabo Mbeki could, believe it or not, make a surprise comeback to mainstream politics. In her article, Du Plessis quotes the former ANC Youth League leader and Member of Parliament, Lulu Johnson, as saying Mbeki could restore the party's confidence following a dismal performance in the May 2024 general elections. Well, let's speak now to Carien Du Plessis, who joins me to talk more on her article. Carien, good evening to you. Thank you very much for making time for us. What an interesting article this is. And perhaps let's start with the direct question about whether or not the former president himself has expressed an interest in even getting back into mainstream politics in the ANC, or at this stage, it's simply lobbyists that you have spoken to about his potential comeback.
Yeah, and I mean, Goli, nice to be with you. You will see that the headline is in the form of a question. Is former President Thabo Mbeki poised to make a comeback? But yeah, I mean, there is a lobby who's pushing for him. I believe that people close to him say that he hasn't quite made up his mind yet. There's no sort of formal comment on this, which kind of implies to me that maybe he is thinking about it. But you know, other people say he's just wanting to sort of leave a good legacy. You know, after his unceremonious exit in 2007, he's still kind of sore about that, and that he wants to leave a legacy. But yeah, so the argument for this lobby goes that at the moment in the ANC, there's no sort of clear successor for President Ramaphosa, or no sort of clear successor that they like. They believe that maybe Paul Mashatile, who is the clearest one at the moment, or he's the most obvious one, they believe that he is the corruption allegations are too heavy, they're too many. So he's tainted. Fikile Mbalula, who is the SG and is also reported to be, or said to be in the running, they don't believe that he has got it in him, perhaps. So they don't see there's a clear successor. And also, I mean, in terms of growing the economy, in terms of leading. So they're arguing that President Thabo Mbeki must come back as a sort of caretaker president. And the arguments are being made now because, as you may know, I don't know, a lot of people have forgotten this because of the G20, but next month is the ANC's National General Council, and these guys want to lobby during that National General Council. They want to lobby President Ramaphosa to step down early as ANC president, and get Thabo Mbeki to be like a caretaker, like all these provinces that have been disbanded, create something similar on the national level, and, disband the NEC and get a streamlined leadership to take charge. And I don't know to do what, but yeah, to do better.
Yeah, this is quite interesting, Carien, because in your article, as you've just said, that the idea here would be if President Mbeki is not going to lead the ANC as such. However, it is to dissolve the 80-member NEC, which is the leadership structure of the ANC in between conferences. That's the highest leadership structure. And in place of it, you then put in this streamlined task team of 20 members. Who would lead that streamlined task team? Is it former President Thabo Mbeki?
Yes, I mean, I'm not sure who will be in that streamlined task team, but the leader should be, they're arguing, former President Thabo Mbeki. I mean, their arguments are basically that under him, it was the last time that the economy grew quite strongly. I think it was 4%. I remember that at the time there was, we're targeting 5%. And after that, I mean, now we have it around 1 or 2% if we're lucky. So the economic growth has sort of stagnated. And they say former President Thabo Mbeki could sort of help drive a program to revive that. They and there's also this belief, it seems to be coming from the former president, that everybody else is not real, not sort of true to the ANC anymore. He has sort of made mention of apartheid agents that he believes took over in 2007, took over the ANC, and it kind of seems to me that he thinks that President Ramaphosa is also not, ANC enough to lead the ANC. So I think that the mission would be to restore the ANC to its glorious self, whatever that was in the past. But perhaps just to get rid of some of these the corrupt people, the people who come there for self gain, for money, for who don't do it for the good of the country and the good of the ANC, presumably.
So let's toy with this idea of him possibly making a political comeback, and let's assume for a moment that he were to lead the ANC, which then possibly, depending on how the voters decide, then would potentially put him in pole position to make a comeback as the country's president. The Constitution says the president will only have 2 terms of office. So where do they get this idea that Mbeki would be eligible because he didn't finish his 2nd term? Is that the reasoning?
I mean, I do remember at the time when, after Mbeki was forced out, I think for a few months before he finished his term, that people said, oh, he didn't finish his first term, his 2nd term, so it means that he didn't serve 2 terms. I mean, that's a technicality. And I'm also not sure if he wants to come back as the country's president. I mean, I also failed to mention as well that under Mbeki, the ANC performed the best ever in the elections. I mean, even better than under former President Mandela. I think they came close to 70%, which is a bit unthinkable now. But I think the reasoning is also that perhaps Mbeki could lead the ANC to a better result as well. But I think perhaps also the idea would be, I mean, if you recall in 2007, when Mbeki wanted to run for a 3rd term in the ANC, there was talk that he would install a president, sort of maybe the deputy president of the ANC would become, the president of the country, or would sort of run as the president of the country, in Parliament, when the elections are done there. That somebody else would be the country's president. And I'm not quite sure that the lobby group has any names for that as to who they want to see as the country's president. I mean, it could be quite exciting that, we might be able to get a female president, perhaps, if it's done that way, because, it's fairly impossible. It seems fairly impossible for the ANC to elect women leaders as the ANC president. So, I mean, so there are various possibilities under that. I'm not sure if the lobby has thought it through that far as yet.
Yeah.
I mean, their immediate push is just to get the support in the NGC, which, I'm not sure if they will get. I think the contestation between the 2 other candidates is so fierce that they might need a bit more money and a bit more of a plan to persuade people. Exactly.
The ANC presidency, as we've learned from the last conference, it does appear, I should emphasize that it is influenced by money. R1 billion was spoken about at that last conference. Let's conclude the conversation, Carien, because, as you say, you're speaking to lobbyists. At the moment, one person that comes out clearly in your article is former Youth League leader Lulu Johnson, who also has been a member of parliament. Are they talking about whether or not President Mbeki would even be an acceptable candidate to South Africans? Are they confident that he would be the savior that the country perhaps is looking for?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if they're thinking that far. I think they, at this point, the attention is very inward focused in terms of saving the ANC, in terms of, getting rid of all this corruption. And I think the commissions like the Madlanga Commission, the parliamentary inquiry into corruption in the police. I think South Africans are feeling very, or at some point I felt very despairing, hearing all these things coming out. So perhaps they're just thinking of getting someone who can look good in the ANC and who can save the ANC, and then sort of think about the local government elections campaign, maybe from next year onward, to see how they would sell the party there. But I mean. Yeah, I mean, but you've seen, I think, when was it, last week or the week before, that former President Mbeki was in the Eastern Cape, and he was addressing political education schools there. So the focus very much also seems to be, in principle at least, on political education, on getting the former president to run political education campaigns. I don't know, I mean, these things have been running forever as well, and I'm not sure that, I think their effectiveness is a bit limited as well. But yeah, I mean, yeah, as far as I can see, there's no sort of clear plan. It's still sort of very much in the making.
Yeah.
So yeah, who knows if South Africans would want to see former President Mbeki come back. I mean, people tend to be nostalgic. People tend to think that things were always better, when we were younger or in the old days. So maybe, but yeah. And I mean, if you look at the voter demographic, most voters are older than 35.
Yeah.
Most people who actually go to the polls. So they might have something there. I don't know.
Carien Du Plessis, thank you very much. Thanks for talking to us. We'll see what comes of this. If anything, we will put the question to the ANC, who are going to be joining us a little later tonight, as to whether or not there are rumblings of this sort within the ANC structures. Thank you very much, Carien Du Plessis, a senior journalist and columnist with the Africa Report. Interesting times.